Over 1,000 parents told us their biggest fears for their children. The top fear was a terrifying thought of their child being abducted. Other worries included their child being bullied or involved in a bad accident. An astounding 94% of parents said their fears affect the way they bring up their children, with 58% admitting they don't let them play in the street with friends and 31% not letting them go online unsupervised. Parents also told us bullying was a worry, with 64% concerned about what went on in the playground. 56% of parents believe the world is a scarier place now than when they were growing up.
Right, with us now, parenting expert Siobhan Fugard and agony aunt Denise Robertson to talk through some of those statistics. So let's start off with the big one then. What is your greatest fear for your children? 31% said being abducted, 80% said their child being bullied, and 8% said their child's involvement in a bad accident. Did the results surprise you?
The number one fear came out very strongly as being abducted and or murdered by a stranger. And I think I was surprised that was quite so high, because although we're aware of it, obviously, since Madeleine McCann, for example, the sort of awareness of the chances of abduction or the likelihood of abduction in itself. But actually, I think most of us know deep down how unlikely it is. And it's actually extremely unlikely, a minuscule proportion of your chance being actually abducted and murdered by a stranger. Well, so there's a big gap between the reality and the parental fears.
According to Home Office statistics, between 5 and 7 children a year are killed by someone they don't know, a figure that has remained constant over 30 years, even though the population has grown. So, technically, I suppose the world is getting safer. In the vast majority of cases, children are killed by other children unknown to them, and that's gang violence, not a random adult who snatches them off the street.
And that's even within those 5 to 7 children. So it really is probably, one. In fact, I can't actually think about...
But it's the random adult that the parents are afraid of.
Well, it's interesting. The NSPCC say there are 60 successful attempts to abduct a child by strangers each year, and this has not increased or changed for years, but most are carried out on behalf of estranged parents.
Yes, so they will be perhaps taken off to one of the Arab countries where we don't have an extradition ruling, so we can't actually, by law, get those children back.
So that 31% saying their child, that they fear their child being abducted, are in fact worrying about something that is very, very unlikely to happen.
I mean, way less than 1 in a million.
But you can't banish it from your mind,
Exactly.
and therefore you need a strategy. You need to be sure you've armed your child as best you can, and then you should put it to the back of your mind.
those pictures coming into your head. I know the facts, I know the statistics, but when my child disappears around the corner out of my sight, those pictures come into my head and my heart flutters.
And it does seem people are thinking the worst. On the survey, the question was asked, do you think the world is a scarier place than when you were growing up? 56% said yes and 43% said no. When actually, if we look at the statistics from the Home Office, they're saying that that's just not the case.
And even road traffic accidents have actually gone down. So in many ways, the world, it's hard to define, it depends, because of course we've got the internet now, as you're saying, which we didn't have before, so we've got new dangers. But generally, we're so safety conscious. If you think of, bike hats and seat belts, and cars have to be roadworthy. When you think, the way my parents drove me around in a carry cot shoved in the back of the Mini with 4 other kids.
Yeah.
I don't think the world is... I'm quite sure the world is not scarier. Our perception of it now, heightened by the media.
Yes.
But at the same time, the thing that scares us is also our biggest safeguard, because now, if a child goes missing, if there's some danger somewhere, it can be round the world in minutes.